while I was resting. Greetings and welcome to While I Was Resting, a podcast in which we talk to actors, performers, musicians, writers, artists, whatever, people in the creative industry about the interesting and varied and often unusual jobs they do between their chosen paths in life. So today it's the first show, and that's why I've got on it a very good old friend of mine, and that is Mr. Dan March. Mr. Dan March, welcome to While I Was Resting.
Hello. Just resting here, doing a podcast with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Welcome. And Dan, before we get cracking and talking about some of the subjects, the topic of today's show.
Indeed.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now and what you have been doing recently. Lots of exciting things. So,
who am I? What am I?
Who are you?
Who am I?
Well, who are you?
Who are you? I'm an actor and a writer and performer. Do a lot of comedy work. So you may have seen me recently in a popular daytime and evening commercial for Purple Bricks when I'm wandering around in a towel. Oh yes, that guy. That's
I've
me.
Seen that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been on. I've been recognised for it recently. I went to see a play at the National, and someone came up to me and said, "You that guy in that advert?" So yes, it's been shown a lot, but I wouldn't say that's the pinnacle of my career. But yeah, recently I just did a show in New York off Broadway that I co-wrote with two other guys, and we did a month off Broadway, sold fantastically well, pretty much sold out every single show, which was great. Great reviews. Even Sir Cliff Richard came to see the show.
Sir
Cliff came, yeah.
Oh, man.
Good work, guys. Good stuff. Great stuff, guys. Good stuff. Good show.
So that, that
he always
was,
did that.
He does. He just does it.
That all the time.
Does it.
Right.
So it was great. Photos and signed autographs. Yeah, we did. What else? Just filmed a little thing for the Beeb, which will be out possibly later this year or early next year on a platform, I think. So a new platform.
Not a railway platform.
Not a railway platform, a sort of a Netflixy streaming platform.
No, that's the thing now, isn't it?
But I've signed an NDA.
That's where it's all at.
Yeah, signed an NDA, so I can't talk about it.
Okay.
What else? Auditioning for things, writing things. I'm off to Boston in a couple of weeks.
Boston, Massachusetts, not the one that's
not up north.
Is it?
No, isn't it Midlands?
Boston. Where is Boston?
Lincolnshire.
Anyway,
the middle of not that one. The
right.
Massachusetts. I'm going to Massachusetts because I know where that is, and actually going to Cape Cod for a writers' retreat. After the show in New York, I'm now a member of the Dramatists Guild of America.
Oh, I say. I feel very privileged to be sitting here with you.
You should feel privileged, yes.
I am, yes.
And got invited to this writers' retreat, which is going to be great. What have I done? I've done a lot of TV sitcoms. I've been in things like Miranda, Pramface, Spy, which was a BAFTA award-winning thing on Sky, The Royal Bodyguard with David Jason. So I've popped up in lots of sitcoms.
EastEnders, you've done soap?
It's not a sitcom though, is it?
No, but it was TV.
Oh, it was TV. It was TV. Yes, I did do EastEnders. I did Casualty. I did a series called Down to Earth, which was on Sunday nights on B1. Popped up in a fair number of things. Doctors. I was in a couple of episodes of Doctors over the years. Did one last year.
I saw that when I edited your show reels
together. Exactly. Thank you.
You were the creepy guy.
That was the last one.
Creepy stalker guy.
I was creepy stalker guy last time. The first Doctors episode I was in, I was actually lovely boyfriend guy.
Oh, that's better.
So I graduated from lovely boyfriend to creepy stalker.
That's the way your career's headed.
That is possibly my new casting bracket. I play a lot of dads and things like that, or work colleagues, or businessmen and things like that, But played a wide variety of characters over the years. A lot of theatre. Did a play at the Millet Sonning at the end of last year.
I went.
Yeah, it was a lovely venue, isn't it? It's incredible theatre.
Oh yes, it's like a watermill.
Yeah, and a dinner theatre situation. So you eat a meal beforehand, and then you go into this.
It's all very civilised.
Very civilised. Beautifully run. Sally Hughes runs it, and it's. I highly recommend going to the Millet Sonning. I was a cheeky Irishman in that, so there is range in my in my career.
I remember when me and my friend James went, and And I can't remember at what point it was, but there was something, I don't know, it was in the programme or something like that, because we didn't know about the play.
The actors talk, or the characters talk about me before I come on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And everybody else from the programme would come on, you come on last, your couple.
Yeah.
And so this other character said, you're an Irishman. And me and James looked at it and we were like, Like, our eyes lit up thinking, Dan's going to be doing an Irishman. Comedy gold.
And on I came, you know.
To be sure. So that was a treat. There we go.
It was a joy to do that production, it really was, and still good friends with the rest of the cast, actually. They were a lovely cast and a lovely director.
Right.
So, yeah, just, I've been very fortunate the last, 8 or 9 years to make my living as an actor. I have a voiceover agent as well, but a steady stream of theatre, TV, ads, voiceover has kept me afloat so far.
So far, yes, indeed. So of course the point
but it
of the
hasn't
show
always been the
is
case.
That's the case, yes, indeed. It's not always like that, especially when you're starting out. And lots of people, myself. And I've done many with you. We've been on in many strange, unusual situations together.
In the 20 years I've known you.
It's 20 years now. Wow.
20 years today, actually, Jace.
Oh, we shall do. We shall toast. We shall toast it. We probably met wearing a sandwich board or something like that. But yeah, of course, that's the whole point. In so many actors, musicians, performers, whatever, have done jobs that are kind of like it's weird jobs that people don't even know that happen.
Yeah.
Like being a fake this or a pretend that or turning up at an event as if you're supposed to be there, but you're just an actor pretending like you're there. And there's so many different unusual jobs that people do,
and also the more standard ones as well. The standard ones and unusual ones. I think it's about making a living, isn't it?
Okay, so you've brought some down. You said you did some prep.
I try to remember who I am. Yeah, try to remember who I am.
So you've done your actor's prep. So what would you say is one of the most unusual kind of jobs you found yourself doing?
Well, unusual. There's been lots of unusual jobs which I've done with you through the Ministry of Fun. But I was going to sort of begin at the beginning, really.
Well, good place to start. Yeah.
Thank you. And which wasn't an unusual job, but it was just how I started. So I came to London in September 1996.
Okay.
When I was 4.
I didn't know this, but that's the same year, same day I came.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow!
There you go.
We should high five that.
High five.
There we go. Wow,
exactly the same month, same year.
So I finished university with a French degree from Oxford, and obviously the natural career choice is be an actor. And I went back home to the West Country after and sort of twiddled my thumbs, and I thought, what am I going to do? I should go to London because that's where the work is. Didn't really know anyone. I had a friend from the village who was studying medicine, and he had a floor I could crash on for a week. Right?
Classic start to an acting career.
Classic start to any acting career, sleeping on someone's floor.
Yeah.
So I had a copy of the stage, and in the back of the stage there were lots of ads for acting or jobs you could do.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still the same, but the back pages of the stage were fascinating.
They really were. It was like, what you could apply for and a million things. And there was one thing which was like, do you want to earn £50,000 OTE? And just by being on the phone and using your actor's voice. And I thought, ooh,
I've got an actor's voice.
What is that? And what does OTE stand for? OTE stands for on target earnings, I discovered. So it was a sales job. It was a tele-sales job, right? So I rang up and got an interview. And so my first day in London was basically, I did the interview and they said, you can start the next day. And so I did this week of training, 5 days of training, learning how to do telesales and very much hard sell.
Okay.
And it was for a company selling advertising space. I think I can mention the company's name, or maybe I shouldn't.
Go on.
Sterling. And they were quite...
a solid name, isn't it?
Solid name, but renowned for having a very sort of boiler house stylee. So on the floor on which I worked, there were about 200 people, 200 phones, everyone on the phone, standing. There were these signs all on the walls saying sit and dial, stand and pitch, right? And you were given this kind of semi-script, and you were basically trying to sell a page of advertising space for about £6,000. And if you sold one, you made anything from 10 to 15% commission on it.
Okay.
So you could make a serious amount of money.
£600-700
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was a very, very difficult thing to do, and not everyone could sell. And a lot of people were unable to follow scripts, unable to actually think on their feet, and also get through to the man, the person with the money, authority and need, the managing directors of these companies, right? So we were very much taught this. You've got to get through to these heads of these companies and you've got to pitch them and they've got to sign on the dotted line. That was very much it. So at the end of my first week, I've completed my training, I've done my first day of work, and then my mate said, you can't sleep on my floor anymore because my parents are coming and you've got to get out, basically. I went, oh, right. So I went into work the next day with all my bags thinking, where am I going to stay? Where am I going to stay? And we were paid £100 a week retainer for the first 6 weeks, right? And then after that, you wouldn't get anything, and then you had to sell, basically. So I thought, I've got a little bit of money coming in, but not enough to put down a deposit on a flat or anything. What am I going to do? I could possibly... There was like a really dodgy hotel right near these offices in Paddington. I thought I might stay there, right? So I come in with all my bags, and it's the end of the day, and I'm picking up my bags, and the guy sat next to me went, are you all right? What are you doing? I said, it's all my bags. He said, where are you staying? He said, I don't really know yet. He went, well, my sister's just gone to university. You could perhaps stay in her room for 3 weeks. I'll call my mum.
Winning.
So he called his mum.
Right, yeah.
And his mum went, yeah, all right, if you vouch for him, and I've been sat next to this guy for a week, and so I stayed in his sister's room for like 3 weeks while I sorted myself out. And then I got my first sale in, suddenly 900 quid, boom, ka-ching. Then I got another one the next week, another one the next week, another one the next week. So I am flying. So I am actually making serious money, and I made enough money and I was auditioning for drama schools at the time. So I made enough money to live in London, live really well, and pay for drama school the following year. So I did really well.
That's very good.
But, and there is a big but here, it took a toll on my sanity and my personality, I think.
Really?
It made everything about the sale. Everything about the sale. And everyone there was so on the sale. And then when I came to call companies back, so I was there best part of a year. Mm-hmm. When I came to call companies back the following year to rebook them, I found out that everything that I'd promised them wasn't actually delivered.
Really?
And that actually all these publications hadn't necessarily gone, or that's what they said anyway. The people on the end of the line said it hadn't gone to all the people I'd promised it to. It hadn't done all these things. It hadn't done all this. And I was just the salesperson. I wasn't the person producing these publications. And I think at that point, I think a couple of years down the line, I think the company did get a bit of a bad rap. And I think there was a huge change, like the managing director got sacked and things like that. So there's a lot of things happened to that company. I don't know if it's still existing, allegedly. I'll say allegedly and all these things. But anyway, so that happened. So I then got very disillusioned with that and I left that. But it did, as I say, it funded me through drama school, and I went to drama school. I went to the poor school. But when I came out of the poor school, I luckily got a tour straight away. I did a tour, but then I didn't get much work after that. Had a bit of a break. So how am I going to earn money? I had my telesales experience. And so, I forgot to say, I started to do a bit of comedy and dicking around. And on the same team was a comedian called Nick Doody, who's doing very, very well. So I crossed over with him. He was a year above me at university, and is a brilliant stand-up, doing the Edinburgh Festival, and he writes loads of stuff, and he's absolutely fantastic. So check out Nick Doody. But I remember calling up one company. It was a lot of technical stuff, and it was like boring machines. So I rang up I got through to this managing director. I said, do you make boring machines? And he went, yes. I said, why don't you make interesting ones? And he went, I heard him laugh when I hung up. And there was a lot of desperate salespeople there. Yeah. Hugely desperate. The classic Glengarry, Glen Ross, desperate. There's a guy next to me, can't remember his real name now, but he used to pitch under the name of Nick Andriakos, right? Nick Andriakos. It was a bit like the character that Topol played in
Fiddler on the Roof?
No.
In Bond. Sword with the Greek.
No. In James Bond, the Bond movie where
the one with the legs. For your eyes only.
For your eyes only, where he's always eating the monkey nuts.
Oh, okay, yes.
So imagine him really hyped. He looked like him, but amped up to total stress levels.
Right. Okay.
And the tale was that he lived above the pub in this that was next door, in this tiny little garret room, and he ate basically cold tins of beans, and that's what he lived on because he just didn't sell anything, never sold anything. But the tale was that years before he'd been this incredible salesperson that made thousands of pounds a week. So that's the kind of world that I inhabited for my first year.
Okay,
in London.
yeah.
But it was enough to sort of get me settled. I got a flat that I rented in Maida Vale for £300 a month.
Wow.
I know. Get that these days. I don't think so.
No.
So then after drama school, I did some charity fundraising for a company called Pell and Bales. So again, using the phone skills and sales skills. And this is like 97, 98. And I only did that for a very short period of time because it was calling up a lot of old ladies. Where before I'd been calling up businesses and taking their money, it felt a bit odd calling up old ladies and telling them there's only like one Snow White tiger left in the whole of Asia and we need them to up their monthly order from £1 a month to £10 a month. Exactly. So it did feel a bit like I'm not feeling kind of massively comfortable with that. So I quit that quite quickly, joined another company called Reeves Lund, which did telecommunications. And again, it was sales. It was setting up appointments, so it was a bit less hard sell, and it was setting up appointments and just pitching the company to lots of organisations. So that felt a bit more comfortable. I did that for about a year. I remember an actor coming in to try and do the job, a South African actor, and he was sort of sat there trying to understand what this telecommunications company did. And he just looked at me and went, "This is like a Mogadon Kosh." So I still remember that. But I did that for a while. And then I got some work. End of 98, 99, early 99. I did News Review.
The show.
The show News Review. And the director of News Review also did Murder Mysteries.
Oh, Murder Mysteries, of course. What a great kind of staple for the actor.
And he said, Dan, I was like, 25 at the time, I think. He said, Dan, you'd be great for Murder Mysteries. Let's get you on board. Let's get you in. And so I did these Murder Mysteries, and they were great fun. And it was kind of the height of their popularity. We were doing over the Christmas period, sometimes doing 2, 3 a day. It was insane.
Late 90s to mid 2000s, there were loads of them.
Yeah,
because I used to work with you doing them. I used to DJ out there.
Yes, exactly. You did. I was then part of like 3 or 4. By doing that, then I got asked to join another murder mystery company and another. I think I was working for like 3 different murder mystery companies and doing a lot. And there are various ranges of pay. Like the worst ones would pay 55 quid, but the best one would pay me 300 quid.
Ooh,
so I'd try and do the best one, obviously more. So it was 3 very different companies actually. And what character would you traditionally play in a murder mystery? Right, so I played a variety of characters, but initially I was the kind of suave, kind of Lord Byron murdering poet kind of character.
Oh, right, really?
Which
the
is
suave
great.
one.
Yeah,
it's funny because when I was doing with you, you were kind of the vicar character. You moved on a bit.
That was a few years after, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The silly vicar with the speech impediment, possibly.
Kind of very Dick Henry.
Yeah. And I also played the detective. For the one that paid good money. So that was really good fun.
And who would typically go to these murder mysteries?
So the Christmas ones would be this huge the Connaught rooms. So there'd be these huge events for like 200, 300 people, and it would be quite often families and friends who book tables, but there'd be companies that would book tables. But then I would do private ones for specific companies, specific organisations. So I'd sometimes get flown around. I got flown out to Venice once, to this palazzo in Venice for this company. And there were only about sort of 60 people there. And we got put up for 3 or 4 days in Venice, which was amazing. But I got into murder mysteries through this guy who directed me. And then in News Review. So I did murder mysteries, but in doing my first murder mystery, I met Natalie Haverstock.
Of course.
Who said, "Oh, you're great fun. You'd be great for a company I know called the Ministry of Fun."
There you go.
And that was in 1999.
Yeah.
And so then I came to the Ministry of Fun and I met you. And I think you were the first person I met. I just remember going up some stairs and you behind a desk.
And me behind a desk because the other guys were always away at that point.
Right.
Butlins. So I used to pretty much run the Ministry of Fun from London while they would phone in from Butlins. And say, I've got some jobs to go. So for that a lot of that year, it was just me there.
Right.
Organising all these stupid jobs.
And my first job, I remember my first job for the Ministry of Fun. It was for the Rugby World Cup.
That's right, we did a lot with them.
Which was 1999 in England and Wales. And it was for Nike.
Yes.
And it was basically wandering around with these giant placards which said, "Just do it." I think it was the launch of their Just Do It campaign.
That sounds about right.
If I'm right, if my memory serves me correctly. And I would wander around with this placard. Sometimes we'd be in pairs. I distinctly remember walking around Twickenham Rugby Stadium before an England-Italy game. And we would do it for like 2 hours before then. And I can't remember if we handed things out. I don't think we handed things out. I think it was purely doing that.
Back in those early days, people didn't want leaflets so much. They just wanted presents.
Yeah, so it was presents. And so wandering around, and there was quite a group of us, and I was wandering around near Otter, right?
Hey, Adam,
Otter, who's our lovely
guy.
Lovely,
kind of dude-like guy. Hey, dude,
American and joyous and...
to 110%, isn't he?
Dude. Long hair, beard. You know, think of the musical hair, and you just have a kind of image of Otter. He's sort of probably... If you put him in the 1960s, he would be straight at home. He'd be in his element. But knew nothing about rugby. Right. And we're wandering around, and this huge guy came over to me and said, "Have you got tickets for the game, for the England-Italy game?" And I went, "No, I've just walk around with this placard." He said, "No. Well, if you haven't, I've got 2 spare. For you and your friend over there," pointing at Otter 10 paces behind with his board. Would you like a ticket?" And I beckoned Otter over. I said, "Otter, do you want to go and see the rugby after?" He went, "Hell yeah!" And so we got 2 free tickets to the rugby, and I'm basically sat there next to Otter explaining rugby to him as England utterly destroyed Italy, like, I don't know, 80-10 or something ridiculous.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was my first Ministry of Fun job, and I thought, wow,
what
a great company.
Yeah, every job forever in perpetuity is going to be like this.
Yeah. It wasn't all, they weren't all like that.
No, of course not.
There were some, definite highlights. I can remember being a school bully for the Flipper Dipper tour. Did you do that?
Flipper Dipper, yes. Flipper Dipper's got one of my favourite memories ever.
Go on.
Of a fellow actor, a chap.
Christie. No.
Chris Porter.
Oh yeah.
If you're listening, Chris Porter, I'm sorry, but you know what story's about to come.
So Flipper Dipper. Should we just quickly see what it is?
Yeah. So
it was a penguin
biscuits. Yes.
And Flipper Dipper. You had the little dip that you could dip these biscuits in.
So it was basically a variation of the biscuit, so that the chocolate and the biscuity parts were separate.
Yeah, nice little idea, nice little thing, bit of fun.
You dip the biscuit in the chocolate.
So how do you promote that? You go around the country with a giant
it's a knockout
swimming
pool.
Game. Yeah, it's a knockout game with like Gladiator meets It's a Knockout. We've got a giant swimming pool-y thing with
that was the kind of the dipper kind of metaphor,
and a long tube along the middle of it that you crawl along.
Flipper,
and you crawl along, and you've got a flipper in your hand, and you have a fight, a sort of gladiatorial style, trying to hit each other into the water.
Yeah.
And you've got employed actors playing different characters.
Yes.
So there was a dentist, an evil dentist.
Why?
There was,
I don't know.
I don't know why there was an evil dentist.
No idea.
I played the school bully in shorts and t-shirt and
Angus Young in AC/DC. Yeah.
So I'm 6'1" school bully going up to these little kids and them trying to whack me into the pool. Layla, I remember Layla doing it. Was she a headmistress?
Something like that.
Yeah. I think she was a headmistress.
Different characters.
So lots of actors.
Lots of actors
so what was great about the
characters.
Ministry of Fun is it uses actors, uses performers, so you don't feel so alone, which is one of those things when you're resting, you can feel really alone. You can feel like, oh, where am I going to earn my next money from? And if you're doing sort of an office job or temping around people who don't necessarily understand your career, you can feel really the beginnings of feeling a bit ostracised. Am I doing the right thing? Whereas doing jobs at the Ministry, you're working with a lot of actors, a lot of other performers.
And we're in the same boat.
Yeah, and suddenly there's a community and you feel, oh, it's all right. It's all right. You don't...
And even if it's a terrible job, it kind of gets you through the job.
Exactly.
Because you can find some humour in it.
So go on, tell the Chris Porter story. Or should you wait till you interview Chris Porter?
I don't know. I've not seen him for a long time. It'd be good to get him on.
Get him on. I think get him on.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, go on.
I've told you now, so we might never go. I've got to tell you.
Right, we're going to go over time.
It's my favourite line ever.
Go on.
Well, one of. Okay, so one of the characters on the Flipper Dipper tour was an actual penguin. So there was a person in a penguin suit.
I've forgotten.
Now, if you've ever worn any kind of... I've worn these costume character suits, I'm sure you have. You'll realise that they're incredibly hot. After about 10 minutes, you just start dripping
And we were doing
sweat.
this in the height of summer.
And it
was
in the middle
really
of summer.
Hot summer.
This was on the beach. It was really hot. I think this was in Bournemouth, this weekend.
I remember doing Weston-super-Mare in Bournemouth.
And so you get people out, and what would happen is there'd be loads of kids, and so you try and get them back after 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so they didn't get too hot. You'd bring out the penguin, you'd do it, wave about,
Yeah.
wave its flippers about, and then come on back, Mr. Flipper, come on back to your igloo, we'll cool you down. You know, you just make, and then you get like mobbed, and you try and be, and inside of this, because it's not getting off, it's not getting back to the changing room.
Yeah.
It's getting hotter and hotter. So he just gets back to the training room, and that rips off this penguin suit and goes, "I'm not a penguin, I'm a trained actor."
And I can feel his pain. I can feel his pain. I do remember that job distinctly as well, because I remember my mum lived near Western Supermare at the time, and came down to the beach and saw me basically dressed as a school bully, a giant school bully, sat on this tube trying to knock kids into the water. And obviously you let the kid knock you into the water.
Yeah.
But if the kid was particularly annoying, I'd try and drag them in with me.
Good skills.
But I remember my mum seeing me and doing that and taking lots of photos, and me thinking, she thinks I've made it. She really thinks I've made it. Here we go. She didn't. No, she didn't. But no. And other jobs I did, I dressed as a Nintendo sheep.
Of course. Yeah.
Wandering around, and that had highs and lows.
So you probably did you get tackled?
Yes, I got that was the low. I got tackled from behind wearing this costume, and it did my back in for quite a substantial period of time.
Yeah.
I remember I had to go to the osteopath, and because there was supposed to be someone guarding me, but there were two sheep, and we were somehow in a demonstration. We got steered into this demonstration for some reason. Anyway, so that was a low, but the high definitely for me was, I think it was near Christmas Eve, and there was a band playing on Oxford Street, and we were approaching the band, and I said, I'm going to see if I can be the conductor for the band.
Yeah.
And just as I said that, Ken Livingstone walked by, and so suddenly both me and the other sheep went, "Hey Ken!" And we're high-fiving Ken Livingstone. And I'm leaving when he was Mayor of London.
Yeah.
I'm leaving Ken, going over to this conductor and said, "Can I conduct the band in while shepherds watched?" And the guy said, "Yeah, sure," and handed over me the baton, and I'm there conducting as a sheep while Ken Livingstone's looking on, and all the crowds around, and I'm dressed as a sheep.
Quite surreal tableau, isn't it?
It was a surreal tableau, but that's one that's stuck in my mind. And another lovely job I did, final Ministry of Fun job, I think. It was going around the country hugging people.
Free hugs.
Free hugs.
Nice.
And bottles of water. We're giving hugs and bottles of water away.
So very important.
It was lovely.
To be loved and moist.
Wearing these big purple cable knit jumpers. It was sort of late autumn, so people liked a big warm hug then in October, November. It's nice to give a big warm hug. And I remember, going around the country doing that and hugging some very beautiful ladies. Can't get away with that now. No. So that was a lovely job. Four of us, big guys, wandering around with cable knit jumpers, hugging people and giving them bottles of water and bringing joy. Professional. I've been a professional hugger. I've been paid to hug, which is lovely to do. Ministry of Fun has been a lovely sort of intermittent staple extra bit of money over the last 20 years, but I haven't done much with ministry recently.
For a long time.
No, not really. No.
I can't remember last time I did one
but they are, they call up, and sometimes it might be something specific, because I speak fluent French. So I was the fat controller in France.
Oh, really?
So I got sent on the Eurostar off to Paris.
Yeah.
I was interviewed so I was dressed as a fat controller, but I was interviewed on French radio, and that was quite fun to do.
Yeah, and of course you went to the Cannes Film Festival.
I did.
Weren't you riding around on the back of a truck in a kind of makeshift office?
I didn't ride around on the back of the truck. That was more one of the other guys who did that, because I spoke French, so I was just chucked on street corners with a desk and a laptop. And
was it kind of Microsoft portable office or something?
It was it was basically Wi-Fi. It was the beginnings of Wi-Fi, the wireless office, basically. Wow. And that was 2000.
It would have been about right about then.
And sent down to Cannes. Sent Paris first, then Cannes after, and so I was the one just plonked on the corner because I could speak French and therefore was explaining the technology to people as well as I could understand it myself in English to begin with, because we did it in England first and then went off to, and then they said who can speak French. But I'm trying to remember who was on the back of the lorry now.
Was it Barty or Rich Dopey or someone?
No.
Richard Foster? Anyway.
No, it'll come to me. Okay. But so that was a lovely job. And then the Cannes Film Festival began, and I said, "Oh, can I just stay on?" So I just stayed on. I stayed on this hotel, and the money I'd earned by doing that job paid for 2 weeks of great fun at the Cannes Film Festival. Made some great friends, and saw lots of films, and so the Ministry of Fun has definitely, it's helped me travel, it's made me great friends, earned money to survive as an actor, and it's that kind of company. They were the first kind of guerrilla marketing company to really come along, I think, to use actors. And
there's little clips of us all on YouTube being interviewed about people. The BBC would come to our office and do a little piece on what is this guerrilla marketing then? And so, it involves a lot of fake stuff and
people believing, because you've been on TV as like a Cat Wrangler, and people believed it.
And I've been interviewed. I can't remember some of the stuff I've been interviewed on TV. Just making stuff up.
Yeah.
But the most famous one is the Cat Wrangler.
Yeah, which is joy. I've seen that clip is on YouTube, isn't it? It's just joy. They totally believe you, and then you obviously can't do it, and the cats are just running amok, and you're going, well, they normally do it. It's the cameras.
Yeah. And I left, and they still believed me. As I was leaving, they said, "Oh, I wish we could have stayed longer for the cats to sort of settle down and do their tricks." Exactly. I was thinking, "Oh, they don't do any tricks. They're my friends' cats." I just borrowed them to take them into the TV studio, and they just ran about.
And say a few sort of subliminal marketing messages.
And and of course the whole point was there'd been a cat featured in the Bacardi Breezer ad. And so what happened was there was a PR company called Mark Bukowski's. They do Cliff, actually. We do Cliff's PR and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And
Sir Cliff.
Sir Cliff. Sir Cliff. And anyway, they phoned up and said, "We've got this Bacardi ad. It's got a cat in it. And what we'd like to do is, back when the news wasn't on 24/7 like it is now, so they'd always finish the news with a nice bit at the end."
Right, nice little...
And finally, the world's not so bad.
Yeah, there's a talking dolphin in Stevenage.
If we can get a cat trainer to talk about training cats for TV, and we could get it on, and he could mention Bacardi, so we could get a plug-in for free. So they phoned the ministry, and we said, okay, there's a company we know that does cats, and we said, you got any people who've got trained cats? And they said, well, there's one guy, he claims to be a cat trainer. So we phoned him up, and he was the most boring guy ever. He's like, yes, I train cats now for... So we phoned back Mark Bukowski and said, we found somebody, claims to have some trained cats.
Yeah.
But he said, we don't think they'll get what they're supposed to be on for. Right. They'll just talk about the cats. Yeah. They won't mention Bacardi.
Right.
Or they won't be very entertaining.
So we need an actor. We need someone...
And so they said, has anybody in the office got cats? And I said, well, flatmate has 2 cats. And they just said, just send Jace. So they booked it all in. They phoned up Channel 5 News and said, we found a cat trainer, can come and do the funny bit at the end of the news. Going to bring 2 cats, going to do some tricks for you, going to talk about training cats.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about training cats. Yeah. And my cats just opened the thing, they ran. There's actually the newsreader's chasing my cat around the studio. And I just sat there and I thought, what can I do? I don't know. So I found a little plastic trout, and I attached it to the end of a stick. God. And I told them that I'd invented the cat stick, and that was to make cats look in the right. And it's just all complete lies.
Brilliant.
And that was
good prep. Good prep. The trout
that was
stick
what it was like back then. It was all guerrilla marketing. It was all.
And I love all that. But there are other companies that do it now, and that meant that sometimes the pay wasn't quite as, the same levels. Because there were some great, really well-paid jobs.
When it was just like new.
And you're the only ones
one doing it
in the marketplace. You've cornered the market. You can, So I did a lot of Ministry of Fun stuff, and then around sort of 2002, 2003, 2004, I was getting quite a bit of work. I did EastEnders, I did Casualty. That was that phase of my career, and a couple of big ads, and I moved to Marble Arch, and I was like, living the life of Riley.
Not the actual arch.
Not the actual arch.
Because there is a little flat in there.
Is there?
There is a little
room. I wonder if it's available.
Yes.
Oh, let's rent it out.
I know that because I used to be a tour guide. That's my first job in London.
Who lives in there? Is it?
I don't think anybody lives in there, but there is a little room, and I think maybe even the police use it now as a little.
Oh right.
Who knows?
To watch people.
But there is a room in Marble Arch.
Oh, right. Well, I lived in Montague Square.
Very, very nice.
2 doors down from where Jimi Hendrix lived.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a lovely little studio flat there, but it was quite expensive. And when my following year I didn't earn quite so much, I then stupidly thought I was still doing well. I thought I'd live there, carry on living there, and I got into a mindset of, oh, it's all right to have credit cards. Oh, it's all right to have a loan. Yeah,
disaster.
Because I'll be getting work. I'll get another big paid job. I'll get another big paid ad. It'll clear it. And I didn't for the next sort of year and a half. And so suddenly I found myself in that awful position where you're in quite a severe debt.
Yeah.
My overdraft was maxed. I had a loan. My credit cards were maxed, and I've got no money coming in. And what am I going to do? And so, number one, obviously, move out of really expensive flat would make sense. So, but I signed on for a year contract. So I couldn't move out straight away. And then through a friend of mine who I'd performed with at the Edinburgh Festival, his mate had just started a new company, right? And they needed someone to head up their sales team. And so I met with him and I told him about my sales experience. And he went, well, all right then. And he was new to running businesses and naive and signed me up basically. And I did that job and I worked my ass off basically. I was doing 14-hour days, calling, Asia in the morning and right through the afternoon, UK, Europe, then America in the evening, just pretty much living in his office to pay off my debts. And within 4 months, I paid everything off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good. So I sold a lot. I made him a lot of money.
Yeah.
Basically, I could probably say I sold 7 figures worth of sales for him. Yeah. And I then, after sort of working full time for him for that 4-month period, I then said, look, I'd just like to work part time really. I've cleared all my debts and I'd like to, because acting is my thing and I can give you a certain number of hours a week, but I won't be full time. He kept pushing me to be full time, but so over the next 3 years, I worked part time for him, and it was in the oil and gas industry, which you're about to do a job for.
Oh yes, indeed, yeah.
So I did sell my soul a bit to the devil, but it was for education and training in the oil and gas industry. So it was a niche market, and it meant I went to places like Dubai, Houston, I went to Norway, France. So it did give me some travel and in with the job as well. Mexico. So I went to some cool places and met some amazing people, and it was a very useful thing for while I was resting. But, and this is something that will happen to performers, creatives, that when you do jobs that are your resting job, they will want you to be full-time because you'll be good at it, because you have great communication skills, you have a lot to offer. And more often than not, you'll find that they will go, oh, would you like to be full-time? I know you're on a temporary contract. Mm-hmm. I know you just come through a temp agency, but we'd like to sign you full-time. Would you like to do it? And it's very tempting. It is very tempting. I'm not saying that, the thought didn't, it did cross my mind. I think, oh, well, if I were to stay full-time here, excellent, I could earn a huge amount of money. But my heart and my drive and my dream is just not there. And so the answer was always going to be no. But I do think you have to ask yourself that question as a creative. When you wake up each morning, what is it you want to do? Is it the creative? Do you want to write? Do you want to perform? Do you want to play music? Do you want to be in a band? Whatever. Do you want to act? Do you want to whatever it is? Perform stand-up comedy. Is that what you want to do? Is that what drives you each morning when you wake up? Because if it is, don't get suckered into signing onto the dotted line for full time. That reduces your ability to have the freedom to go off and audition or create. So it's fine. Still have time to create. If it's got to be a 9-to-5 job, make sure it's 9 to 5, not suddenly you've been getting 8 and you're leaving at 6:30. Yeah. You are there for that time, so that then you use the rest of your time to be creative and do what your heart is in, because that you only get this one shot.
Absolutely.
And it's about doing it to the best of your ability, giving yourself the best possible opportunities. And London is a great place to be. It's not always the be-all and end-all, depending on what career you do. But if you are going to be here, obviously you need to pay money more, a lot more, and therefore you need to earn money, and therefore you need to find those jobs that pay you well enough. And that's my other point, I think, with resting jobs is make sure you're not being taken for a ride. Make sure you're not earning really crap money. I've done bar work as well. I did bar work back in 88, 88, 98, 88, 1888, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, I worked in various bars and a nightclub as well. And there was one bar I worked in, and I realised actually with the money I was getting paid, and they were taxing me at source, and I said, oh God, I'm hardly getting anything. And they promised there'd be lots of tips, and there weren't a lot of tips in this particular bar. So I kind of quit that quite quickly, and then I found a nightclub that actually paid me 10 quid an hour, cash. Cash. It was 3 nights a week, 5 hours. That's 150 quid, plus tips on top. And because it was Starsky and Hutch, I don't even remember Starsky and Hutch in London Bridge.
It
was a really popular night, and everyone was like really a sort of friendly.
70s night.
70s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Different nights
Retro
had different.
night.
Total retro. People would come dressed up. The DJs all wore flares. It was really huge wigs, and everyone having a great time and great fun. And because it was one small bar that we served everyone, and it was really busy, people saw that and would tip quite heavily. They'd go, oh my God, I see how hard it is. Bang. And so whilst we're also getting 10 quid an hour, we're also getting an extra like 20, 30 quid a night, all of us, tips.
Yeah.
So suddenly it made, so it's about working wise, working so that you can still audition, so you can still do your job.
You're not trapped.
Yeah, you're not trapped, you're flexible. So working wise and choosing the jobs that pay you well enough. So that's another tip for while you're resting. Other jobs I've done. Do you want to know more?
Yes, we do. That's the whole point. That's what I hear.
Another thing I got into through a mate of mine, he just asked me to take over for him one night because he couldn't do it, is hosting pub quizzes. And I know you've done that. I know you've done that. And
it's good fun.
It is good fun. There's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes if you are having to write all the questions.
Yes.
And if you have to set up the night, so you've got all the kit to lug over there if the pub doesn't have a PA system or whatever, or the venue if you're doing private events. So you've got to think about all that, the kit, the writing questions, the time it takes to do that. But if you like trivia and you do a bit, mind a bit of stand-up and a bit of banter with the crowd to create a fun night, then running pub quizzes can be hugely fun. Huge fun. So I ran them in like 3 or 4 different pubs, and then got kind of headhunted by this bigger company. And then I worked for them for about 3 years, mainly Monday nights at Sir Ian McKellen's pub.
I know, I went there. It's great. It's a great little pub, isn't it?
It was lovely. And
Sir Ian.
Yeah, I hosted that regularly at his pub for 2.5 years, I think it was.
Yeah.
Before I went off to the States to chance my arm in 2016. But Ian would come regularly to the quiz. It was amazing.
Well, the time I came, he was Christmas one.
Right.
When he hosted it.
Co-hosted with me.
And made you his elf. And he gave you a little Santa hat, and you were wearing his knighthood, wasn't he?
Yeah, he gave me his OBE to wear. So we met up at his house to write the quiz, because he has some esoteric questions which I thought no one would get.
In what year did I star as Hamlet?
The word Christmas comes from the ancient Nordic meaning,
all these.
But Dan, what do you think? What do you think of that? Do you think that's good? Good question.
I think that's a really good question, but I think maybe a couple of clues in there.
Yeah.
Maybe give them an A, B, C, D or something. So
it was a great quiz, but it kind of towards the end just descended into a bit of chaos anyway.
Well, it's a very small pub, and when you've got 100 people in there,
and everyone was just singing Christmas carols by the end. It was brilliant.
It was a great night. It was a great night.
So Ian was like, I'll have another vodka. And
absolutely
by the end, he was like, let's all sing a carol instead of this bloody question.
So he used to come regularly. So when I started, there were only like 5 or 6 teams, and he wasn't there. And then it got more momentum, and then there were about sort of a dozen teams coming regularly. And then he came along one week and loved it, and then he tweeted about it. And the following week, it was just queues out the door.
Really?
And I because I arrived, I didn't know he tweeted about it. I arrived expecting the usual dozen teams, and I was like, oh my goodness! How do I even get to my seat outside, to be able to host it? How do I get in? How do I get into the pub? And he was there, and then I started to do this sort of regular gag.
I remember the gag. It's a good gag.
So I used to do this gag. I said, there are several. I have 3 rules. 3 rules in the pub. First of all, no Googling. No using your mobile phones, otherwise
very important in a pub quiz.
I'll take it and sell it for fueling my drug habit. Or I normally do it about the barman. I say fueling Ollie's drug habit, something like that. Then the second rule was, even if you think I'm wrong, I'm right, because my word is law, basically. You've got to set these rules down as
it's important.
As
you're in charge, you're the quiz master.
Exactly. And the third rule is you have to answer every question, because this is Sir Ian McKellen's pub, and
You shall not pass.
Yes, you've got to get that.
Great. And so, whoosh, whoosh. The following week, Ian was there again. I did the gag, whoosh, whoosh. The following week, Ian's there. I did the gag again, whoosh, whoosh. The following week, I did the gag, and then he came over to me. He said,
Dan, can you not do that joke again? Can you not do that? You're doing it every week, and I'm here every week.
And I said, oh, certainly. I gave him a little twinkle, certainly. So then I went, and the rule number 3 is, you have to answer every question, because you shall not pass. And he looked at me and went, ooh, like this, right?
Yeah.
The following week, he's looking at me. Am I going to do it? It's like sort of a stare at. It's like high noon.
Right.
And I went, you have to answer every question. You shall not pass. And he ran down the bar, and behind the bar is Gandalf's staff.
Yes.
From The Hobbit. Not from Lord of the Rings, but from The Hobbit.
Yeah.
He grabbed the staff and basically attacked me with it. To the point he's attacking me with the staff and strangling me. I think a lot of people took quite a few photos. And he said, don't do that again. I went, oh, okay, I won't do it again. Next week he's there, and I'm looking at him. It's another high noon moment. Another high noon moment. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I go, you have to answer every question because... And then he stood up, and he went, you shall not pass! Whoosh. And I went, okay, you win.
Great.
So then the following week, I'm looking at him again, and I said, you have to answer every question. And he's looking at me, he's really giving me this. And I said, because you can't put any crosses in the box. There are no X-Men here.
Oh.
And he went,
very good.
and from then on, I did a different gag each week, normally Shakespeare related. So there we go. So that's hosting pub quizzes are great fun.
They are indeed.
And a good little bit of extra money.
Yes. I used to do the one just down the road from Sir Ian's pub.
Oh.
The Prospect of Whitby.
Oh, the Prospect of
Another
Whitby,
Thameside pub.
Yeah. Is that the guy with long hair who ran it? No.
I can't remember who ran it
long.
there. I just remember one of the bar staff always used to come up and give me film pitches. It was this guy... He had this funny accent. He goes, hey, Jason, I have got a film pitch for you.
Oh, all right.
And because I get this a lot because I work in films.
Yeah.
You sometimes have to listen to people's film pitch.
Just in case.
And sometimes you sort of stand there and listen to them for a long
it might
time.
be brilliant. It might
like
be
I had a
brilliant.
mechanic tell me his film pitch.
Right.
But I stood and listened to it for about half an hour thinking this is terrible.
Right.
But nodding.
Yeah.
Saying, no, this is good.
Okay,
Because I thought he'd probably hopefully give me a discount on my fixing my car.
Great idea, mate. Can I have some money off the chassis repair?
But I always remember this guy came one night and he's going, Jess, I've got another film idea. It's about like mechanical cockroaches. Okay. And I said, oh, you could call it Robocock. And he just looked at me confused. He just didn't get it.
Oh dear.
But I thought that was
good.
good.
Though, good gag.
I thought it was a good gag.
Off the
But
cuff.
he said, no. You're not robots. There you go.
Good stuff.
But you do. Anyway, we digress.
We digress. I mean, how are we doing for time?
We're good. We've got like 10-15 minutes.
Oh, right. So I've got a couple more jobs.
Yeah.
A couple more jobs. Another thing I've done over the years is performing comedy sketches for kids.
Oh, yeah.
For educational purposes.
Educational? Yes.
So I have done improv. I used to do this regular gig at this school in Birmingham where me and a few other improv people like Pippa Evans, Carrie Ad Lloyd, a guy called Gareth Kane, and we'd drive up to Birmingham and arrive at this school at like 7:30 and then do this improv hour from 8 till 9 for all these kids. And it would have it was specifically about vocations you're going to do after, what are you going to do after school?
Yes, yeah.
What are you going to do? And so all the improv games would have that kind of theme of what kind of employment you want to do and what.
Yeah.
So that was it was like Whose Line Is It Anyway mixed with vocational class, really. But the kids were shouting things out and it was great fun.
But did any of them have any extreme kind of career paths that they'd chosen for themselves?
No, working at McDonald's would come up quite a lot.
Really?
But that's them shouting out suggestions for us to, what work, And then we do an accent roller coaster, and you'd always get someone shouting out Chinese, Indian, Caribbean, which obviously it's quite tricky these days. So we try and steer them away from that. I can do Scouse. So doing that and other scripted scenes for GCSE and A-level students.
Okay.
For 800 to 1,000 students. I
Really?
performed in the West End doing this. It grew. One of them was a whole day about the Nazis' rise to power.
Yeah.
And so it was less comical. Not so many comedy scenes in this, but there were some comedy scenes. But it was a showing from the 1920s right through to the 1940s. And this whole day, and it was done at where Michael Jackson's Thriller is on. So they hired that West End stage for the day from 9 till 4.
Yeah.
And we'd be performing these sketches throughout the day that had a theme. It was following one family through from 1918. Yeah, arriving back from war in 1918, and then that
all the
family
way through
to 1945.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
worthy stuff.
Thank you, worthy stuff.
Worthy stuff.
I've given back educationally. So that's another job I've done, and then the last thing really, which is something that has helped also fund me over the last 10 years, is doing corporate role play. Which, if you're an actor, it's a very useful thing to get into. There are a lot of organisations out there. If you Google corporate role play work, there are lots of companies. I know that you're going to speak to Jeremy Todd, aren't you? And he's done a lot of that stuff.
Yes.
And there's a couple of companies I work for that have scripted work for businesses, often for leadership development.
Okay.
So there'll be scenes where you're playing a manager of an organisation in a conflict, verbal conflict, or persuading, or various business situations that are difficult and complex, firing somebody, or someone asking for a raise and you can't give them a raise, all these kind of things that are within the business sphere, and these are quite often scripted, but then lead on to improvising and an area called forum theatre. And forum theatre is quite a useful training tool for leadership development, because the way that works, and I've just been running some forum theatre workshops actually for a business school, one of the top business schools in the world actually, Chicago Booth Business School.
Ooh.
So they flew me out to Chicago.
Nice.
I did that was in June, and then I've just been running some workshops in July for them. And forum theatre, the way it works is you have a group of actors, and I've performed these scenes as well, but I was actually running it and hosting and facilitating it. So you get a group of actors performing a scene that the business people will watch, and there's a lot of bad behaviours in there. So it's like witnessing those bad behaviours and going, okay, how do you make those bad behaviours good behaviours? And then you rewind the scene, and the actors replay it, but then the audience stop it at various moments and offer suggestions on how to improve it. So as an actor, if you're able to improvise, if you understand a bit of the business world, so as you know, over my lifetime, I've done quite a lot of sales work, so I understand the way sales work, that gives me that knowledge of the business world. So if you've got a bit of knowledge of the business world, of other jobs you've done, part-time jobs, or help fund you through drama school, or just after university, or while you were deciding what you're doing, that can also help with the corporate world and doing corporate role play. So it can be very well paid, and a useful, flexible job to do. So role play, corporate role play, do it, enjoy it, have fun.
Because lots of people use role playing actors, the police training, these
medical
actors,
role play,
patients, people who people train to be lawyers, and you have people pretending to do court cases. It's all worthwhile. You need to have a trial run. So
I did a medical role play. It was one of the first role plays I did actually. I've forgotten about this.
Were you a patient or a doctor?
I was a patient.
Yeah,
I was a patient. And this is going back. This is 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
This is 20 years ago, and because it wasn't very well paid, which is why I didn't do it again. I think it was like King's Hospital or something. But basically, so you sat there and you see a doctor like every 10 minutes. So you'll see like 15, 20 doctors, and then you have to make a couple of notes on a couple of little tick boxes of, did they ask you this, did they deal with that, did they discover what it is, and what was that, and then they have to give obviously their diagnosis. So mine was I was producing black stools.
You were a carpenter.
I was actually,
in the medical sense.
In the medical sense, in the medical stool sense. And I think I was going through a particularly stressful time at work, and therefore the diagnosis is, Stomach ulcer, obviously.
Obviously, everyone knows that.
Obviously, and I don't think all the doctors got it, and I don't think all of
yes.
them sort of delved into the stress aspect of my life. So they thought it could have been a variety of things, whereas if they'd sort of delved into a few other aspects of my life, they'd have narrowed down the diagnosis.
I see.
It's like a little quiz, really, like a fun role-playing quiz.
It is.
So I did that, but I haven't done that since. That's the only time I've done medical role play. But I know a lot of friends who have done it. And it could be a steady stream of income and quite
Absolutely.
fun.
You get to learn lots of diseases. And
Exactly.
ailments,
All right,
you could be an
that's what I've
expert
got.
yourself, you know.
Oh, that rash means that.
You get a knock on your door. Excuse me, are you that actor that does medical role play? Only I've got a bit of a lesion on my arm.
What are your symptoms? What are your symptoms? Yeah. Oh, actually, I've given up by being an actor. I'm now a doctor.
Yes.
After 7 years of
Once
doing
you've
medical
acted it
role-play.
enough, you're there.
Yeah, I'm in the role. There are those
It's method,
people.
yeah.
Well, people do, don't they? They pretend to be doctors. And they turn up in hospitals, and there was that whole movie about that, wasn't it? Was it Paper Mask or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Was it Paul McGann?
I think it was Paul
It
McGann.
was, yeah. God, my access memory vaults there.
Amanda
but
Donohoe?
yes.
Amanda Donohoe?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, we're good. We're good. Look at that.
Look at that.
Wow. Who knew we'd segue into that? I think I've covered most of the jobs I've done to just keep the wolf from the door while I've been resting. And the key point, I think, is that when you are in the creative professions, and speaking from a personal point of view, when you're an actor, the easy part is when you're working. The easy part is when you've got the job and you're doing a play or filming. That's the easy part. The difficult part is the bits in between when you are resting. So if you can find jobs that at least keep you happy and keep you sane, or pay you enough to give you self-respect, and also give you the flexibility so you can go off and audition. Those are the sort of the prerequisites, I think. If you feel you're trapped in a job, it's depressing you, then you don't want to be in that job, because this is the hardest point. You're in between work. It's that most difficult, most stressful, most agonizing time. So you don't want to be in a job that gives you extra stress. So find something that really values you, that pays you well enough, that keeps you happy and keeps you sane. And there are plenty of jobs out there. I've covered about a dozen different types of ways that I've earned money to keep me going, keep me alive.
And there's so many more.
There's so many more.
It's a list of stuff that we've done together.
Countless.
I remember us two. You phoned me up one day and said, "Jace, can you free today or tomorrow or something?" Like that? You say, "Yeah." So the Smirnoff need 2 Russian bouncers.
Oh yeah.
And me, who's tiny, who's big. Obviously, a good comedy pairing.
Yeah.
But we were suddenly stuck in these dinner suits, and we were sort of stood by the door with these fake Russian accents.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, Sergey. We were just.
It was amazing. And was Emily Sunday singing there as well? It was in that giant crate, wasn't it?
God, yeah. It was a big event.
Yeah, big event, but all secret, wasn't it? It was like done as a secret speakeasy.
Yeah. But we were 2 Russian. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, well, that's reminded me of another job I've done for a different company. I can't remember the name of the company now, but I had to audition to be a Russian, and I basically played a Russian billionaire who was would arrive in bars with these 2 stunning Eastern European girls, and there'd be a VIP area roped off for me, and I'd just basically click my fingers, and the girls would then give free drinks to everyone in the bar. And it was a free vodka Russian. Russian was a mixer.
Okay.
A new Schweppes mixer. So basically that was it. It was just going to bars, giving out these, and then being this Russian billionaire. And people would believe I was Russian. Or those who doubted would come over and go, I don't believe you're Russian. And then I could speak a smattering of Russian. And so I just go, Привет, меня зовут русский. And they go, he is!
It's him. He owns
And
the
people
football
will
club
believe
and
it.
everything.
Yeah. I remember this guy came out to me and said, mate, a mate of mine runs a couple of nightclubs around here. I can get you in tonight. I can sort you out. Don't worry, mate. Anything, drinks from me. I'll sort you out tonight. And I was going, sorry, I have a helicopter waiting. I have to fly. So yeah, finding jobs you enjoy, and finding friends. You will find friends from those enjoyable jobs.
Indeed, but so many people I've been good friends with over the years.
Yeah.
Have been people you've met through the weirdest, strangest situations and jobs. There's a certain camaraderie there, isn't there?
But good luck. Anyone listening, really good luck. Good luck with your careers. Keep working at it.
Absolutely.
You know, work as hard as you can. Be as flexible with your time as possible. And don't get into debt like I did.
Good advice.
Yes, I've got rid of that mindset now. I've not been in debt since. So, yeah, that mindset of whatever money you've got, you can then spend to a certain degree. If you haven't got money coming in, then really tighten the purse strings. If you've got money coming in, great, enjoy. But, you know, work wisely, good luck with your careers, and be creative. Go make stuff.
Go make stuff, yes. Indeed. Well, thank you, Dan March, for joining us on the inaugural, the maiden voyage.
I feel privileged.
While I was resting.
You are paying me for this, aren't you? This is paid.
If you send me an invoice.
Right, okay.
Well, send it to my people.
Okay, send it to people. Because, podcasts can be a good well-paid job, can't they? Can't they podcasts?
No? I don't think there's any money in it, to be honest.
I thought that...
I think it's all a myth.
Oh, is that a myth?
It's fake news.
Oh.
It's fake news.
All right. So because I turned down a job to...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you'll get good exposure.
Oh, exposure.
I'm going to pay you an exposure.
Oh, thank you for paying me an exposure.
That's
great.
all right. I'm writing an exposure check right now.
Oh, thank you for exposure.
Okay, so while I write the check...
Oh, wow, that's worth its weight in gold.
Bye to our listeners. Thanks for joining us.
Danmarch.com.
Danmarch.com. You've got to get that one in. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. While I was resting...